Olá a todos. Now switching to English. Hi everyone. Thank you all for your presence, for joining us for this Ciência meeting, for this last Ciência meeting of this academic year, now in this online format. I would like to start by thanking Adriel Rodrigues for accepting the invitation to be our speaker today, and also for Professor Cristina Cruz, who is joining us also today, and to whom I will give the floor in just a few minutes, who will also have a few words and present Adriel Rodrigues. I would also like to thank all the team involved in the CNC meetings, in particular Mariana Marques, who is in the backstage, ensuring that everything is going well with the connection with YouTube. So this is how it's going to work. If you followed the previous CNC meetings, you already know that during the talk, you can leave all your questions in the live chat that you have on your right here on YouTube. So you can leave all your questions there during the session, and then we will give them to our speaker, Adriel Rodrigues, and we will have the Q&A session after the talk. Our coordinator of the Center for Ecology, Evolution and Environmental Changes, Professor Cristina Maguas, is not able to join us today, but she would like also to thank you all for joining us, and she would like to thank you and say that this is the last CNC meeting of this academic year, and we hope to start again in September, October, hopefully presentially, so in person, but we don't know what the future will hold. So if not possible in person, we will start again the CNC meetings online as we are doing today. And now, without further wait, I give the floor to Professor Cristina Cruz. Thank you, Professor Cristina.
Okay, Marta, thanks a lot. It is my pleasure to be here and to introduce Adriel Rodrigues. He's an external collaborator of our research center, and he has been working with us, with our group, during the last 2 years. He comes from the economy, he's an economist. He left his position at the Bank of Brazil to come to Portugal, and after taking part in the Web Summit 2018 and being a winner, he decided to stay in Portugal and become an entrepreneur here. He is living in Fundão, and from there he is doing a lot of activity, changing the surroundings, and maybe he wants to change the world, focusing on 3 main concepts, that is a circular economy, food chains, and decentralization. So it is a pleasure and also a challenge to work with Adriel Rodrigues, and we have been learning a lot with him, and it is part of this that we would like to share with you today, and this is the reason why we invited Adriel Rodrigues. Welcome, Adriel.
Thank you, Professor Cristina. Thank you, Marta. Thank you, everyone that is there. Thank you, Mariana. I'm Adriel, and I'm here to have a little talk with you about what we are doing in Portugal with my team at Shimejito. Actually, we are very happy to collaborate with the Ciências meetings. I think the connection between companies and communities and college are very important to keep learning, to keep improving our knowledge about any stuff that you need to know. By the way, as Professor Cristina says, I'm living here in Fundão, specifically in a village called Alcaide. There is the mushroom land here in Portugal, so there are lots of synergies between the circular economy projects that we are building up here and the countryside of Portugal, because here we are trying experimental model about how to create these food networks and this collaboration with local agricultures, local companies that can try to start a little bit how to start to make change into the microeconomic system. And I can't start my presentation without talking about the COVID-19. Yeah, that's why we're here. Actually, that's why we are here in that way. We are facing a true big problem right now that is affecting the life of all humanity, and one of the major problems that improves the COVID situation obviously is the production system that humanity creates and developed mostly the last 40 years. So the global production also leads us to a global crisis and all the global meaning that pandemics can mean, actually. And by the way, we started this project to trying to fit a lot of knowledge about microcredit and oriented business for local people, low interest rates for so everyone can start their own companies, and understand actually why is important to know about companies, about economy, about agriculture, the primary sector, the transformation sector, and how can we start to build ecosystems, entire ecosystems, make a bypass for the traditional way to make stuff. Because I have one certain in my life, the traditional one, at least the 40 years tradition that we have used the last period here is not working. That's it, period. I think we need to understand why it's important to know these concepts, and I have a showcase to explain a little bit how that can works and how little guys like this one here can change the quality of work and life for people that are building farming that are farming the field for the future. And that's important because for some parts in the world, for people doesn't still have electricity to start to improve the quality into crops. And actually, I see there are a lot of people that are pretty much slaves for the production system that we have nowadays, even leading us to problems like 3 million children dying every year by famine and hunger, malnutrition. Over the next estimates for 130 million people in Africa that can die from COVID consequence for the next 10 years. And since I'm working with the economy so hard right now, not just on the spreadsheets on Excel, but seeing how everything affects our lives, I think it's a good opportunity to share a little bit of these last steps that we are making here in Portugal. I want to make a special thank you for the Portuguese government, and especially for the Fundão municipality and Alcaide community that are living here, for the reception, all the attention, all the support, also the C3C group and the Faculdade de Ciências at Lisbon, and for all the people that are working to build this concept. Because if you don't try to do something different right now, we already know that in 30 years, a lot of people can maybe not even have water to drink or food to eat. And since our expectation is to grow as a civilization or as humanity, we need to figure out new ways to produce food for ourselves in a way that we can't that will we can't destroy anymore the planet. So I'm sharing my screen right now to tell you what is Shimejito and why these circular economy systems acting locally can improve our global distribution, our global problems, because I think is just a matter of balance. In science, in physics, when you have an equation, we need to balance it so everything keep running well. Okay, even if you are in a universe that is pure chaos, when we figure out that there is no energy creation, or we're only transforming entropy law, we need to build our systems following this main rule, because in nature we don't have waste. Okay, we can't uh, put anything out, we are putting anything in our planet. So if you waste products, if you waste materials, you are not only discarding anything, you are putting something more into the planet, and that thing will impact the lives of all humanity and all the beings that are living here in this planet with us. So we started, and I started to create this concept to implement into a primary sector that is agriculture. Actually, I really think that agriculture was the major revolution that we create, and that lead us to live what we're living right now. But when we start to mix too much agriculture with capitalism with neoliberalism, and we just start to make a mess, mostly for the last 40 years, when we start to explore and to expand our production way, actually the Eastern production way, for the other parts of the world. And that leads us to exploitment, um, exploitation, unemployment in some countries, um, child labor in other ones. And we know the problems that our system creates to us. So I think if you can start to act into the local basis for an economy, that is food, that we all need to food to feed them ourselves, we can start to make impact. Then, to make a true positive impact, we learn how to create business into a social impact way. So the externalities for the business can make communities thrive, can make communities and companies go further and communicate and cooperate with their local ones. And with this, we are reinventing agriculture. And we are in the hottest period of the year, driest one actually here in Portugal. And we are producing mushrooms right now into a 70 square meter space in a garage. And this is just awesome, because we can, using all the technology embedded into IoT devices and decentralization concepts, create a system that provides us fresh, nutritious, organic mushrooms in just 35 days from the substrate to the harvest. And in a way that we can build businesses that cost 10 times less than a regular one to produce the same amount of food. And the vision that we are creating right here is to solve the problems of the world together in local communities, and we are using agriculture to do that. If you're seeing that slide, you can see some mushrooms growing in pots, and that's how we can make our crops not just sustainable, but we can crop and harvest mushrooms every single month of the year. So why decentralization? Why cooperate, not compete? Why think communities, that's ecosystems that can thrive by themselves, is starting to be less dependent of the current distribution system? First, nature born and die. Okay, as organic beings, we born and we die, except from viruses. And with that, if you don't have resources to grow, we can't grow. But if you know how to administrate the period of decomposition, the period of the growing, the period of the other beings that are surrounding us right now, we can transform what for someone can be waste in food and organic and natural food. So as an example that what we're doing with this is to connect with people that make the fire control in forests right here in Al-Qaeda, and the remains of the forest, the wood that is not indicated to be there, that is dying, is transformed in sawdust, and with the sawdust we have the main the main raw material for our mushrooms. So, and the circular economy is just economy that follows entropy law. Okay, economy that can understand that we can't pick up some oil and make plastic, and then we can discard it as tomorrow we can make the same thing, and that's infinite. No, resources are finite stuff, and we need to use that wisely and understand how can we discover new materials that can solve our needs and also solve the needs for the planet. And the circular economy systems allows us to make the all the distribution, all the production chain sustainable because we can respect the timing for some products. And another point of view here, if you can't choose the material because that that good that I want to produce is not fitting the environmental needs, I think you would need to rethink if you need that good that we're building. I think we can use a lot of creativity to wonder and to create and co-create new solutions for our current problems. And I think for example, it's just dumb if you are building an entire green energy plant, for example, using the current oil based system, and you are reinforcing the needs of oil, for example, to create an energy and create the goods that we need to produce clean energy. So in circular economy, we need to know and learn that if you pick up something in the in the raw material state and you transform that into a product, that product has a time to expire, a time to go back and to transform again in raw material. So that's it. We are making here applied a system that uses sawdust, transform that in mushroom substrate. We can grow mushrooms, and then we can use this amazing mushroom substrate to improve food nutrition for animals, um, soil attachments and improvements for plants, because I don't know if you remember your biology class, but fungi and plants, they have a symbiotic relationship. Then the creation of mycorrhiza helps the soil, help the plants, and make everything better for nature, because 90% of the plants use that to grow in nature. We thought sometimes that fungi are bad, but not. They are essential for life itself here in Earth, and is associating that nature feature because it's just how it is. We are offering with this social impact package agriculture as a service. So we are inviting everyone to bring their knowledge and their experiences into a new educating system, a new educating knowledge to new ways of agriculture. So anyone without any knowledge or previous knowledge in agriculture can start to understand better that field. And that's why it's so important, the relation with colleges and universities, to not make things just by the head of people, but with science, with research, with tests. And okay, that's the way we do. We create a proprietary technology. So I developed a system that can control all the environment needs for the mushroom right now. For example, humidity and temperature, the critical movements are that, and the airflow, because mushrooms inspires oxygen like us. So we need to keep the air fresh for them to grow properly. And as I showed you, that little object here, if you can see me, not just the presentation right now, is the responsible to keep everything right, everything going in the right way. So we are inviting people not just to enter into know Shimejito, but to start to think ways that we can build other kind of businesses that follows these rules to create better solution for ourselves. The Shimejito model actually can be applied for a lot of other crops, a lot of other production systems. Basically, we can pick up residues that are generated for other industries. In our case, as I said, is sawdust here in Fundão, but you can use coffee powder, we can use wheat, basically any plant-based substrate to be transformed into our structures that we call biofactories into mushroom substrate. This mushroom substrate, it grows in small pots, as you can see into the third image here. And the fungi colonize the substrate to, in more or less 30 days, 28 to 30 days, they are able to grow mushrooms. So the main objective here is not to provide just the substrate for the mushroom, because if you do that, we will cut the chain here, and we will be off a circular economy system. We're doing just what everyone does, but it's not the system. We developed this way to produce the substrate because we can deliver the mushroom substrate for small farms, urban farms that can harvest mushrooms, but the mushroom substrate goes back to our biofactory, and we can rearrange it as an organic additive and then improve the local agriculture businesses, starting here a process to start a transition between the chemical ways to produce food and to protect your crops, using natural solutions as the mycorrhiza that fungi can provide through our substrate. So in that way, all the products that we create return to nature in a positive way, generating 10 local jobs for each factory that we open, and 2 local jobs for each mushroom farm that we need. And that's it. In 45 days, you have organic, fresh mushrooms to eat, to sell, and to make research. I think this is the major point here, and I want to make another special thank you for our accelerator. It's called BGI. It's an arm for MIT, the Massachusetts Institute of Technology here in Portugal. Actually, now one of our associates are there presenting Shimejito as a solution for among other solutions there, because of our decentralized model. And agriculture as a service works pretty much as SaaS, that is software as a service, like Zoom. We are working here and make this presentation with a tool that provides us to create something. Is a tool. So agriculture as a service is also a tool. So you choose to start an agriculture business, making this, as I said, a bypass to the local and traditional way to make agriculture. So you can create modular or small hubs that can provide decentralization enough to make communities not dependent of the current chain. And as an example, when COVID-19 started and spread through the world, the major producer of mushrooms or mushroom equipments, and actually the major factory of the world, that is China, closed. And the world are facing right now also an economic crisis that will make economy goes down up to 2022 by some experts. And when I call experts like this, that's because these experts doesn't prevent us for this crisis, because crises are the rule into a capitalist system. And the decentralized model is a way that you can mitigate this type of risk, because we are not dependent of the global chain to start something. And in that way, we can improve local economy by buying products that are making in our own region. So all the main tools that you use in our factory, all the raw material that you use are generating revenue for these local communities, and that's decentralized. That is decentralization. That's a way that we can grow, not just in agriculture, but other type of businesses. We are living decentralization. We are making partnerships with a bunch of institutions and companies and colleges to provide for their local structure solutions and capillarity, so you can go further. Let's imagine that we are living in a big global village right now in the world, and the global way, the global thinking that we are using is not decentralized, is global. So we are in a very big pyramid system that make an awful a bad resource management and a big social inequality. That's it. We have less than 20% of people living over the exploitation of over 80% of us. We have the 80% of the land are used to produce food to us, and in a very inefficient way. So with decentralization, we can create again the small hubs that can provide the basics and quality of food for anyone. You don't need to waste to develop a system that will make your food has an expiration date for more time, or to putting fat and sugar or salt into your food so you can buy into a big supermarket. No, we can provide through decentralization a proximity. We can start to we connect and produce organic stuff, natural stuff, fresh stuff, close to the people that needs it to feed themselves. And in that way, we can transform more than 60 tons of organic 600 tons of sustainable organic substrate, recycling this into our local factories. We can make impact, generating jobs to people, instead to make a big and huge factory that has a big impact into environment, just focus on profit. No, we can make profit producing stuff close to people. And when you have this, we can cut off other problem, that is distribution. we spend more than 30% of the price of some products. Even in someone's, more than 70% is just freight, is just shipping. So we can solve the need that your t-shirt that travels through the world right now, making huge impact to the planet, traveling in big ships from the cotton that is produced in Brazil or in South America or in Africa, and need to travel to China, Vietnam, or other part of the world, and then need to import the ink that is made is making in Germany or in other parts, and combine everything into a big structure in China, for example. Then the t-shirt need to be shipped again, sometimes by plane, sometimes by ship, for America, for Europe, for other countries. So it's just stupid to me to think that we develop this chain, focus on profit, when we can use the same amount of energy to make people travel better and faster for the countries or the place and have more experiences, and we can produce our goods, our needs, our stuff locally, and we can grow together. The logic needs to be rethought. We need to think how to create entire chains that can provide us sustainability as a fact, not just as a proposal. I don't need to make about it, but this is the impact that we can make when we start to think agriculture as a major whole, as a major whole into the production system into the world, and the market is already big enough so we can transform it. So how can we help, or not just help companies, but help people to make this change by our selection about things that we can buy. So the consumer, or else us, we have the power to choose what are you going to buy. So it's important to know where it comes from, what is the impact of that company, is just price or you have value. There is a difference between price and value, and I think you need to start to use the earth value benefit, the community value. So that mushroom that you can buy in the supermarket that costs €2, and you have another one that's produced locally by someone that is close to you, and you are seeing that now in COVID, that small businesses are responsible for a lot of jobs, for a lot of security for everyone, for entire countries. So if you can invest by buying their products, by buying their solutions, and you can provide for these small businesses new alternatives, so they can't just pick up what is cheaper, but what is generates value, we can start to make a new drive for the economy, a new drive for people. Because in economy, we know that money generates money. If you need to invest something to make something better, it's better to use that local money or local community than to uh, generate this value chain for other company in other country that is providing a bad solution for the planet. So you can have a good solution into a smartphone, but your smartphone is a bad solution for the environment. I think you need to start to apply that when you choose our products. So in the internet are plenty of solutions that you can choose a better fit between your needs and the planet needs. You need to think it. We can live in harmony with our planet, with our ecosystem, and with our society. So by buying that, we make the driving. We can make the market goes in the direction that it wants, not the where the money wants that the market goes is different. We need to use money as a tool, not as a driver. And we need to use our needs and planet needs as a driver, not as just any other resource. So I'm pretty glad to make this in the last 4 years, actually, since I started to make research, to start this project. Before I started, I worked into Banco do Brasil for 8 years, and I entered there, and I had the opportunity to learn about economy and applied economy and microcredits and small ecosystems, how to provide quality credit for people. And we really packaged it into a solution that we start to test here in Portugal the last year. So in 1 year, we developed our partnerships, we developed our production chain, we select the right places to start, the right partners, and by the end of the year, we start to sell our solution for the Portuguese market. And Portugal, thank you for being a point of reasonable thought in a world that is so messed up. I think here we have people that are really and truly concerned about a better world, about better solutions, about a better society. So in that way, the sales prove our point. When we launched our product, that is the mushroom farm, we start to make revenue. In the beginning of the year, we start to make our installations in our biofactory here in Fundão that you can see in one of our photos here, our pictures here. And since we got this, now I can start to finish in my presentation, showing you how can you have a farm in a garage with less than 100 square meters. This is a 70 square meters local urban farm. I'm going to invite you to know it right now. And that's it. We are building the first one. We already sold 5 of them. We are running it in Portugal. Very happy because when we can grow mushrooms into the summer, inside the mushroom land here in Portugal, and people see it, we are very happy to make these goals further. So this is all we need, and you can see here the mushroom growing.
Adriel, maybe you should take the slide off so maybe we can see better.
Okay, yes.
Thank
you to remind me that. Whoops. Where is stop share? Here. Okay, can you see me? Okay, let's see the guys here. Look. Okay, a little bit here. Those are 4 days grow stage of these mushrooms here. We have another species here. Let me show you here. Okay. And that's it. It's a small structure. It's a little bit dark right now here because mushrooms like the dark. And that's it. Now I'm going back to my chair, and I think we can start to open our Q&A section.
Obrigada. Thank you. Now switching. Thank you, Adriel. And it was great to, after hearing about Shimejito, seeing Shimejito in action, seeing the mushrooms and seeing all of it in action. So it was great hearing about the company and now seeing it in action. Now, I now invite everyone that is following us on YouTube to leave their questions on the live chat that you have on your right. So you can leave your questions there and we can share them with Adriel. And while we wait for a few questions, we can also start with a few questions. I can start with one, and then I also challenge and ask Professor Cristina Cruz if she has one. I'm curious. So your company has been very distinguished with several prizes and in Web Summit and so on, and several prizes worldwide. And this is I'm thinking about the situation that we are going nowadays worldwide, COVID-19 that you spoke about. And I'm thinking about what are the challenges that this situation poses for your company on the one hand, and what are the future steps that you see for Shimejito in the future? Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We got some prize. We won some prizes into this percourse, this track, and the biggest challenge was we had a structured chain supply. So COVID makes us to research a new supply chain here to start the project without the dependence of some Chinese counterparts. And that's it. Other thing that COVID was bad to us, that is people want to come here and see and make this visual to understand the business model in this whole structure. But by the same hand, it is helping us to spread our message, because now we have more people on the internet looking for solutions for this type of crisis. And I think that's why we got so many prizes in the last months, because we are a true alternative for people that want to make something about what is happening around the world. So that's it. It was bad because it delayed our process, but it was good because it shows that solutions like ours are needed for everyone. So we have sales during the quarantine time. We could keep the jobs during the most critical pandemic phases here. And that's it. I think we still have too much to learn, and unfortunately I know that is just one of a lot of pandemics that can occur into the next year. So we need to start to hurry up and understand better how can we transform this supply chain.
Okay, so if I may, Marta, it is very, very nice to understand that the beauty of your model is that you have a fractal idea. You have an idea and then you can replicate it. You have a factory and then you can replicate it several times in a very reproducible way. So what is the type of looking at this looks to me very suitable to develop the interior and to attract young people like you to the interior of the country. And this is a very, very urgent thing we have to do. So what is the type of people that you manage to attract already, who is interested in setting up your factories? And is this the profile you were expecting, or do you have your ideal profile that you would like to have for the people that are setting up these factories?
We have more a behavior type of people, I think everyone that is listening and searching for Ciência right now and watching us are people that can be interested in this type of business model, for example. But we're talking about since young people that want to start to do something, or people that are quitting their jobs, their regular jobs in big companies, and want to start to make something actually, and people that are more mature and have more experience and have more knowledge and time to keep a less stressful kind of way of life actually. And that's it. It's not just the people that can invest and buy some of our farms, because if you can understand that we can sell a farm by the same price as you buy a car, but your car in 10 years values nothing, uh, our solution with the same price can provide local jobs and production, fresh organic production. So we are aiming for people that cares about environment, cares about the bad economic behavior that our society has. So that's it. I think people that are searching right now into the internet about sustainability uh, are the people that want to make some kind of specific revolution. People that want to start a social impact businesses, students, teachers, um, e- literally everyone that cares about what's happening in our company, in our country actually. People that fights against racism, people that fight against nepotism and bad governments and hashtags ele não, and people that doesn't want anymore the current system are the ideal people to know more and to get connected with us, because we want to know what these people can share also.
Thank you, Adriel. We now have already a few questions in YouTube. Thank you for all of those that are putting questions on YouTube. I'll start by grouping two questions, and then I'll put more as they arrive. So the first two questions. First by Mr. Alfieral, and he thanks you for the presentation and asks, maybe I didn't get it, but what does the little device do? So This is the first question. The second question is by Rita Carlos. How easy is to access this type of recyclable substrates? Can a local farmer access it easily? What needs to change to have a better use of such substrates?
Okay, the first question, it's simple. This is an IoT device that has an ESP32 processors and controller. This can sense the environment and give to you a real-time value for humidity and temperature, but it not just measures it. It actuates and turns on and turns off automatically by our parameters the right temperature for the mushrooms. Here we make the structure has a temperature always between 18 Celsius degrees and 22 Celsius degrees, and also humidity always over 80%, because mushrooms like humidity. And that's it. You can imagine that this device make the nature conditions for the mushroom go faster and better. Yeah. The second question, how easy is to access this type of recyclable substrate? Can a local farmer access it easily? What needs to change to have a better use of such substrates? It's pretty easy actually, because this forestry waste is over and overloaded, not just in Portugal, but for a lot of countries, because every agriculture crop gives to us any residue. For example, in Brazil, you can use sugar cane, you can use eucalyptus tree, you can use coffee powder. Here, the same thing. You can use eucalyptus. Now we are using pinus tree, and that's it. It's pretty easy. The difficulty is to explain for the current chain the circular economy model. But if you do that properly, you can even have the waste for free. And what needs to change to have a better use of such substrates? Actually, 90% of plants make symbiosis with fungi. So it's a nature feature. And you can improve and make your tests, and you can put it into the soil. You can start to make and by us, for example, some substrate and make your own tests. It's a soil enricher. It helps to the fungi has this special thing to como é que é o nome? Sequestrar, não sequestra carbono, sequestra nitrogênio. They help to make the soil. Yeah. Teacher Christina, you can help me here, please. But is I'm missing the word in English actually right now. But is it? How the substrates can help all the crops, and how can it integrate the soil and benefits, have a better use for the substrate?
Because when you grow the fungi, you degrade the substrate, and they decompose the very complex molecules that are associated with lignin or with vegetable residues, and they enrich the soil in compounds that are more advantageous to plants, like usually they are short weight compounds that are more degradable, that are more available to the microbial community of the soils, and that can be easily used by the plants. So this somehow accelerates the decomposition circle, and provides a better organic nutrition to the plants, and very important to the soil, because when you are inoculating the soil with this type of substrates, you are introducing also fungi that will perform a network, biological network, that will connect the organic matter and the plants. And this is very important to fight erosion and to improve water retention and organic matter by the soil.
Exactly.
We have, sorry, did you finish?
Yes.
Okay. Because
thank you, Teacher Christina. Thank you.
We have another question by Graça Oliveira, which is also seconded by another person that is also attending, Ana Oliveira. So Graça Oliveira asks, mushrooms seem an easy model for your project in the sense that they are small, light, fast-growing, requiring few resources, and they are not essential food. Do you have similar experience with other agricultural products?
Yes, the answer is yes. Not just agriculture products, but for instance, medical marijuana, for example. And when I'm asked about an easy model, it's hard because it was so easy. I think we will have more people making the same stuff, and it's not. And by essential food, what is essential as a food actually? How much carbohydrate you need to eat? And essential foods can help you to prevent you or minimize the chance to have some types of cancer, for instance. I don't know. We have a functional product because mushrooms are very, they have a high level of protein. They can, the same amount of, some mushrooms can provide 4 times more protein than some beef, and you use less water to grow it. So that's a tricky question, mostly comes from the regular agriculture system. And for the other agriculture products, we can harvest in the same model. For instance, microgreens. I don't know if the audience knows it, but you can harvest baby leaves with the same kind of method, with the same kind of sensors. And when we choose mushrooms, is really because it's easy, and you can see what China makes in the 70s. You start to grow mushrooms to feed their own population and minimize the impacts for the old agriculture systems. Actually, they're not that easy because we start to domesticate mushrooms to grow indoors few years ago. If you understand that 10,000 years of civilization after agriculture, the most recent techniques to produce mushrooms indoors were developed in the 70s. And here in Portugal, for example, a lot of producers use lump to produce mushrooms. That is a terrible way, actually, an ancient way to produce it. But that's it. If you have some opportunity to talk with us, please send us a mail and we can look forward, because with our project, we started with mushrooms, but we can grow other type of crops for sure.
Thank you, Adriel. So we also have comments by other people attending saying, for example, Adriel Rodrigues, very interesting, thank you. So if there are no more questions from the public attending, we are reaching noon. So I would say that it's time to wrap up our session. There are lots of challenges and questions ahead for the future of Shimejito and future lines of research and application. So it was great to learn from you and to see all these future challenges and lines of research. So I would like to thank you again, Adriel, for accepting our invitation. Thank you again, Professor Cristina Cruz, for being present with us and intervening and helping us to clarify also these issues. Thank you, Mariana, in the backstage. Thank you all the team involved. And thank you very importantly to all of you that followed us in all the Ciência meetings, and in particular in this one. This is the last Ciência meeting of this academic year, and now adapted to the online format, given the situation that we are currently living. We don't know in September if we are able to have the Ciência meetings in person or not. If not, we will continue to have the Ciência meetings online, and we hope to see you or read you again here in the chat. So thank you again for following our activities, and take care. Thank you.
Thanks. Enjoy your holidays. Bye.